love, and third eye vibrations. What is going on with y'all, man? It is 4 in the morning, and I just wanted to capitalize off my thoughts right now and add more to this video. I guess because I knew that I'm on here talking about the laws of polarity, and I know that that's a important addition and thing to speak on right now on my channel, with everything else that I've already said and whatever else. This is just a good fucking checkpoint for y'all to understand this very important law. Like I said, if it's 3 that you would not want to ignore or ever turn a blind eye to, is the law of mentalism, the law of polarity, and the law of cause and effect. So, with that being said, I ain't got nothing else to say. And I got the book open right here in front of me, so I'm gonna just read from it instead of picking it up. But boom. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the difference between things seemingly diametrically opposed to each other is merely a matter of degree. Things that are seemingly diametrically opposed. So a thing, an object, anything physical, anything 3D manifested, if you look at it and judge it, and then judge another thing and judge it, just understand that the difference between the 2 things that you're observing is only a difference in degree of vibration, depending on the class that this thing belongs to. It teaches that the pair of opposites may be reconciled to come to an understanding, and that thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Thesis, what you come to the conclusion of something to be, and your antithesis of what you concluded to not be is one and the same. Let me try to find exactly where it said that in the book. Are identical in nature, but different in degree. They're the same thing in nature, but the only difference that you're seeing and observing is a difference in degree or vibration or a rate in which something is doing something. Boom. The teachers claim that illustrations of this principle may be had on every hand, and from an examination into the real nature of anything, an examination into the real nature of anything. Yes, I'm high, if y'all can see it in my eyes. An examination into the real nature of anything. So what is the nature of something? It's God inherent abilities, what it is, without man-made effect, what it naturally is. Teachers claim that the illustrations of this principle may be had on every hand, and from an examination into the real nature of anything. So anything that you examine, when you get down to the real nature of it, you'll see that it's the same as whatever else you're observing and saying that it's not. The only difference in reality is a difference in degree or a rate of vibration. Boom. They begin by showing that the spirit and matter are but 2 poles of the same thing. That spirit and matter, 2 poles of the same thing. The intermediate planes being merely degrees of vibration. This crystal is matter. Now, to rise above the plane of matter, you would get into the plane of energy and spirit. Now, the only difference between this crystal and the realm of spirit and energy, very dull state, a very low vibration, as opposed to energy and spirit that is at a very high, rapid vibration, but not captured in thought form and then brought and manifested and birthed into the 3D reality. They show that the all and the many are the same, the difference being merely a matter of degree of mental manifestation. Thus, the law and the laws are the opposite poles of one thing. Likewise, principle and principles, infinite mind, and finite mind. It's essentially describing as above, so below, as within, so without. We are extensions of the Creator. The all can be found manifested in all things. The spiritual vibration. Vibration is just spirit. Everything has a animation. Everything has a sense of vibration, a sense of spirit. Now, rather it's at a low vibration to the point where it's damn near still and a 3D object makes all the determination between whether it's etheric, high vibration, or physical, low vibration. But even when something comes to the state of death, you would think no vibration, but it's still vibrating. It's still in a state of decay and decomposition, even after it's no longer living or sustaining life. Show that the boom. Then passing on to the physical plane, they illustrate the principle by showing that heat and cold are identical in nature, the difference being merely matters of degrees. For something to be hot, like you may touch something and say, damn, that's hot, but you could still touch it. You can't get close enough to the sun to say, damn, that's hot. You would burn up before you reach a point to touch it. So that just goes to show that what you call hot over here is not hot in comparison to this over here. And even if you walking around in 10-degree weather right now, that is nothing in comparison to -30 degrees in Antarctica. So again, what you're calling cold is then considered warm when you're looking at it in comparison to the conditions over here. The vibration decreases or it reaches a settled state, then you can go further down this path of heat and then the vibration is still increasing. But to cool, you will reach a neutral state of vibration, then to go further into the negative, you start to reach a negative high vibration of low temperatures. So you can apply that to your emotions and anything else. Again, they even said it teaches that the pair of opposites may be reconciled, and that the thesis and that universal effective principle teaches came on every hand. The teachers claim that illustrations of this principle may be had on every hand and from examination into the real nature of anything. All right, ultimately, let me just say this to get myself out of the extreme intellectualizing of the point before I make the point, but it just gives you more evidence and proof to never debate or argue with anyone unless you choose to. Unless you choose to probe deeper into their mind and their thought process, you really don't. It really serves you very little unless you have a goal into what you're trying to get from a person or get from a conversation, to talk to them or try to prove your point to them, because most people are so stuck and hardened in their egos and their stance on their pole of what they believe or what they see to be true. Again, in the polarization dialectic, dia, I know I broke this down a little bit in the last video, but dia is two, and lect meaning language, your dialect. So to be in a polarization dialectic is only fucking words and concepts that you agree to, and you're polarized on this end of the scale, not really just arguing and having a hard stance and willing to defend it versus this perspective over here. Now, you can always take or leave whatever you're being offered, or just not continue in the conversation when talking to someone. But you see so many people getting in ego debates and things and situations and settings with, usually it will happen in a controlled setting where it's somebody trying to actually prove to you their point over another point. For example, if you at work with somebody. So in listening to this, and even though it may disrupt what you feel and believe to be true in your own heart, of course, what I'm offering y'all is competence and intellectualism. But even on a free-spirited level, if you just believe something in your heart and it's just you and your life and your reality, for anybody to be telling you that you're wrong or this is the way that it should be done, allow them to have that, and you continue on with your peace of mind. Because again, understanding this principle, it saves you time, energy, attention, ego, and creativity, amongst other things. But to invest in what another person is doing, saying, or talking about, when you know and understand this law of polarity, that all things can be debated, argued, there's a flip side to every coin. You could play devil's advocate to any perspective. And what is devil's advocate? What is devil's advocate? Just siding or bringing up the lower nature perspective to anything else a person could say. The human perspective to anything else a person could say. That's just playing devil's advocate. Now, I've been playing devil's advocate all my life, unconsciously, and somehow here I am on the internet advocating for your own lower self, right? Advocating for your lower self. Advocating to have joy, peace, and contentment with who and what you are manifested in this shell. To have joy, peace, and contentment in the present moment with what you've done and who you are, regardless of what the outside world is telling you to do or trying to get you to be, whatever else. Yeah, again, this is content. I am a content creator in a sense, but I am a content creator. I create everything in my life. I am the God of my life. I offer y'all to be the God of your life, but it's fucking an oxymoron that it's a content creator. You're creating content, but to be in the state of doing that all the time, you're 9 times out of 10 not content or not satisfied with your reality. Always trying to do more, show more, and get more, and whatever else. But just understand that on the opposite end of whatever you're trying to get is always more to get, or somebody or something that will rival you or make you go within and look at yourself and judge yourself, whatever else, right? It's intense, it's extreme. Just how we are really in a hermetically sealed fortress, this game of life, this earth. And it's literally all right here in this book. These 7 principles, it encapsulates everything that life is and everything that life is not. So I've offered it to y'all so much over the years because like I know that if you at least have this in life, then you should be good amongst all other things. Or it just at least always get you back to a point of figuring out and solving your issues rather than having to ask anyone else or seek any outside approval or validation. Okay, let's continue a little bit more. The thermometer shows many degrees of temperature, the lowest pole being called cold and the highest heat. Between these poles are many degrees of heat or cold. Call them either and you are equally correct. Call them either and you are equally correct. Apply that to your perspective on life and other people's situations that you deem good or bad. You are equally correct as a person saying, pointing at the 6 and calling it a 9, as you pointing at the 9 and calling it a 6. Y'all know I want to rhyme, but I'ma stay with this shit. The higher of the 2 degrees is always warmer, and while the lower is always colder. There is no absolute standard. All is a matter of degree. There is no place on the thermometer where heat ceases and cold begins. There is no hard and fast division to be made to say, oh, this is hot, but wait, this over here is hot too. It's like hopping in a fucking shower when the water is very hot for somebody else, or for you. Someone may hop in the shower and be like, oh man, this is lovely. But you might get in the shower and say, damn, that shit is steaming. I can barely even motherfucking touch it. That's me at times. I don't like super hot, steamy water or fucking freezing cold showers. I don't do the cold shower trend. I like comfort in my shower. There is no place on the thermometer where heat ceases and cold begins. It is all a matter of higher or lower vibration. The very terms high and low, which we are compelled to use, are but poles of the same thing. The terms are relative to your perspective. I'm high right now, but I've been a lot fucking higher, so I'm really not that high. Now, Juice WRLD has been a lot higher, probably than I be getting. So, to my high, his high. You know, my high is nothing to his high. Rest in power, Juice WRLD. The very terms high and low, which we are compelled to use, are but poles of the same thing. The terms are relative. So with east and west. Travel around the world in an eastward. I'ma actually just fucking skip this paragraph. Light and darkness, I'll go to the next one, are poles of the same thing with many degrees between them. And just for y'all to know, I skipped the paragraph because it was about to get into a globe earth illustration, and I'm gonna refrain from that just for the purposes of this teaching, because again, that from my perspective has not been proven that we live in a globe earth. And it's probably the reason that this book is still widely available and not just taken off from the internet, because the authors of this book put forth a globe earth solar system theory, which I disagree with. So again, y'all can have your own fucking life understandings and what you think this game of life is. And if you don't even have enough information to confidently say what you think life is, then that's the first issue. At least get there and not just have an egoic stance on what you think life is and what you're willing to fight for, because you will die hard on that ego flight. Yeah, flying on your ego is like, that's like flying on an airplane without fully fueling it up and making sure all of the propellers and technology on the plane is right. When you just choose to fly on your ego and go with the wind. Oh my God, don't do it again. Don't sin. What is sinning? Sinning is just going against yourself, essentially. It's just going against what you agree to in your mind. What is a sin for you is not a sin for another person. Again, that's just the laws of polarity. So what is good for you to do in your life is fucking terribly wrong, bad for another person to do in their life. Now, who's right and who's wrong, that's up for the observer or person to determine. Now, the laws of the land usually do that here on this earth. If you was living in the jungle or just living in a place where you weren't receiving mail with your government name on it, then you can live and adhere to your own laws, statutes, and commandments. But in this controlled society that we live in, yeah, you gotta at least do what they say to prevent the things that you know await if you violate the laws. Light and darkness are poles of the same thing, with many degrees between them. The musical scale is the same thing. Starting with C, you move upward until you reach another C, and so on. The differences between the two ends of the board being the same thing. With many degrees between the two extremes, the scale of color is the same, higher and lower vibrations being the only difference between high violet, crown chakra, and low red, dark chakras, your lower chakras. So that could be a good point for us to tap into the chakras, because as you see on the scale or on the color spectrum, you got high violet to the purple hue until it breaks out into a light. With your heart being in the middle, your heart is green. Your heart is also likened to the fourth law in the Kabbalion, the polarity, law of polarity, because you either choose to go the path of your higher self, the left-hand path, which is you having allegiance to yourself, your mind, your thoughts, your true beliefs, who you deem yourself and your life to be. Once you rise to your heart, you have the opportunity to make that decision. That is the crossroads. Or will you be compassionate and sympathetic for humanity and continue to have your arm out and deal with people on this planet? It truly is that black and white, as far as the decision you have to make to go with your higher self or to go with your lower self. Now, your lower self, it is the right-hand path. It is the path of humanity. It's the path of friendship, compassion, socializing, humility, etc., etc., as opposed to the left-hand path, which is getting to the heart chakra and having allegiance to your higher self, is truly going the route of self, knowing thyself, and self-actualizing to your furthest degree, to your furthest capacity. That has to be done. You inevitably have to leave people behind if you want to make that crossroad jump to the self-actualization, into your higher journey, into your higher path, your left-hand path. So it's also green. The heart chakra is associated with the color green, because green is a middle point between the red, orange, and the yellow. Then you got the violet, purpley, white with the bluish, light bluish of the three higher chakras. Then the heart chakra is the bridge in the middle, that is green, which represents a frequency of peace and harmony. It is a representation of the balance and the meeting point between the heavens and the earth. Okay, so you make your decision, your right-hand path, which is the path of society and culture. You make that decision to be an earthly bound physical person, or you make the decision to go your left-hand path and deal with faith and deal with self and knowing and going the route that only you know, the path that is not been well trod. Let me actually just say that shit real nice and cinematic to end this video. The left-hand path is the non-well-trodden path. The right-hand path is the well-trodden path, the path that everyone has done and has reaped similar fruits, and you can have a very predictable outcome from playing the right-hand path, going the route of humanity, and playing a game that's been played before you. But to lay your own path, to go the untrodden path, the path that no one else has walked, this is the left-hand path. This is the heart frequency. This is the above. This is where you want to be. As hard of a thing it may be to leave all of those people behind, family, friends, loved ones, it actually has to be done for a time in your life if you want change, if you want to disengage from the world of the mother, the world of matter, the world of comfort and care and ease, you know, you have to go a path away from that, to harden, to learn, to fall, to trial and error, to experiment, to do life, you know, without having somebody to rely on and fall back on. Of course, in tribal days, all of this shit would have been initiated, but now the initiation is college. And even then, you just pick a career. I guess that's the illusion of America, is they give you the freedom of choice, but it's just the illusion of choice, because you're picking between many things, but you're not actually deciding on something. You're not deciding on what not to do, but you're just picking something to do. So all of the other options are still open if you don't want to do this option no more. Same thing with our democratic and voting system. It's just an illusion of choice. But what you should decide, or at least what I invite you to decide, is to really is just decide on the choice of all is mind and the universe is mental. And everything it's all mental. It's all mental. Everything that you go through, everything that you see, everything that you perceive is just mental. So to control your emotions, to control your thoughts, to not let the game of life take you over, to not be soft and weak in the game of life is what needs to be done. But I'm not even offering it through no extreme methods of exhaustion and anything else. Of course, that all helps, but to just read and tap in with self and just observe and gather knowledge is where it is. And this shit is just occulted from the world for you to understand. It's just been hidden from your sight. It's just not in the curriculum in school for you to reach this level, for you to know thyself. Of course, the system would not continue if everyone was aware of this knowledge, if everyone had access to it. Everyone does have access to it, but it's just not in people's face. It's not seen as anything really beneficial to go into if it's not no dollar signs or numbers or some social incentive tied to it. And with that being said, I love y'all, and man, you never, ever relax your principles.